Hello ratbags, it's Jade Plays Games. Welcome to a special access show. Today, a sad one if you're a fan of The Walking Dead or any of the other Telltale games. They are about to shut their doors for good. Now this news is quite a shock to most people. There are a hell of a lot of questions being asked around the community and from fans about what's going to happen with future Telltale games that were announced, not to mention some of the games that Telltale Games actually published that aren't made by them. It may seem a bit of a shock, but I'm going to be talking to you some of the reasons why this isn't so much a big surprise. Telltale, of course, are famous for making the Walking Dead series of games where they are story and episodic. They've branched out into so much, including Minecraft, Batman, Borderlands, and in the future had planned to make a Stranger Things adaptation, but that looks like all of that has been cancelled. The future Stranger Things adaptation is going to not be happening, and the fairly recently announced Wolf Among Us sequel also will not be happening. They've laid off a bunch of staff and they're only going to be keeping on around 25 members to finish off The Walking Dead, the final season. So it's not going to only be the final season of that game, it's also going to be the final season of the game maker and publisher. Now it's not that far back, there are some articles going around, particularly this one from The Verge, detailing how a toxic mismanagement and a development team that just was undermotivated was pretty much burning the studio into the ground. I'm going to leave the link for this here so you can go and check it out. Now this is the first time I've actually come across this article, but after reading it, it really does confirm what I believe too. Telltale have been fantastic at adapting games and putting them out there into the mainstream with their story, episodic nature and the way they've made point and click adventures relevant again. However, they haven't had any original content themselves for a number of years. With all of their projects, all of their games based on other IP, the significant amount of money they need to actually pay off to these companies to use their properties is significant. Now Telltale Games aren't necessarily a small publisher anymore. With over 100 members of staff, they're certainly not that tiny little indie game company that you're used to seeing. But it does look like Telltale burned brightly and burned too long. Recent reviews of their games have come to the conclusion they've just gone a little bit stale. And while their stories and the IPs that they use can always freshen things up, the actual gameplay side of things has pretty much remained the same. I've often enjoyed a lot of Telltale games, however that has always tailed off. I don't think I've even completed any of my favourite ones like Game of Thrones or The Wolf Among Us. While storytelling's been great, while the IPs have been fantastic, their technology just hasn't really kept up. If you play any of the Walking Dead games recently, or if you go back and play any of the other Telltale games, you'll find that it's just a little bit janky. The art looks great, the environments look great and the storytelling's fantastic, but when it comes down to pure gameplay, even if it's just quick time events that you're mostly doing and just pressing a button here and there, it doesn't really always compute with what you're doing. Sound can be off, scenes don't always play correctly, and this has been a running theme throughout a few of their games. Now originally when they first come out, The Walking Dead, you could be forgiven for that as it was a game they'd put out for the first time in a number of years and it revitalised the adventure series. Before that they'd been working on games like Sam and Max and Back to the Future and Jurassic Park with limited success, but it was Telltale's The Walking Dead that really put them back onto the centre stage as a premium game developer making unique and interesting games. But that's kind of slipped, and after years of saturation where it's the same model releasing games and episodic content every few months, people have probably just got a little bit too bored and stale of it. And really deep down, these adventure games are quite niche. They probably play out better nowadays on a mobile phone rather than sitting there on your console. So could Telltale have done more to prevent this? What could they have done to maybe stop the influx of boredom and repetitiveness setting in? I'm not too sure, because that's generally what they've always done. They have moved into publishing, so if you don't know, they published 7 Days to Die and they're about to publish, or were meant to publish, Stranded Deep, a brand new survival game coming out on Xbox One and the PS4. That game's been on PC a number of years, but it's the first time it will be coming to console with a release date of October the 8th. That is up in the air now, we have no idea whether or not that's going to be complete. So let's go over a few of the posts and then I'm going to give you just a little bit more of my opinion on I think what's gone wrong with Telltale Games and what the future holds for anyone that still remains part of that company, or if that company still really will exist. Today, Telltale Games makes a difficult decision to begin a majority studio closure following a year marked by insurmountable challenges. A majority of the company's employees were dismissed earlier this morning, with a small group of 25 employees staying on to fulfill the company's obligations to its board and partners. CEO Peter Hawley issued the following statement. It's been an incredibly difficult year for Telltale as we work to set the company on a new course. Unfortunately, we run out of time trying to get there. We released some of our best content this year and received a tremendous amount of positive feedback, but ultimately that did not translate to sales. With a heavy heart, we watch our friends leave today to spread our brand of storytelling across the games industry. Telltale will issue further comments regarding this product portfolio in the coming weeks. And that is pretty much it. That was released on Twitter, probably not the best place, although hopefully maybe we'll find a bit more information on their website. One of the lead story narrative designers has been going on Twitter and quite vocal about helping other people in the same situation as herself from the company, and of course trying to find herself a brand new job. Emily Grace Bucks has literally posted her Twitter name as please hire. I'm sure these guys aren't going to be too short on offers. Despite maybe the Telltale games slipping and understanding what the market wanted as it progressed, there's no doubt about it, the story elements and the artistic work that's gone into these games has always been fantastic. IGN does a pretty decent article in summarising all the good things Telltale have contributed to. From the Monkey Island series of games, which was the first taste for me of playing a Telltale game, all the way up until some of their later ones. They have been at the forefront of making games not just about shooting things, but evolving story, putting real artistic values into their games. In the last few years, alongside their own in-house productions, they have gone on to help other games companies publish their games, particularly for console markets. As recently as this month, RGX Showdown has been released on Xbox One and PS4, and as I mentioned earlier, we've got Stranded Deep coming in October, which is meant to be published by Telltale Games. So how has a games company with so much history, so much pedigree, remembering that a lot of the initial people that founded this company had been working at LucasArts, had various different positions in the gaming industry and had been around the block quite a while, how did it get so bad that they had to shut down the studio? It only takes a few minutes looking at Wikipedia and looking at all the games they've published and you'll realise that they really haven't had anything to generate money for themselves. Absolutely any games they've published in the last 2 years that have involved any other IP, the bulk of that money has probably gone into cost and production. Not just to get the licenses for the characters, but also the amount of voice work that gets paid to the actors. The productions have got bigger and bolder, and with each new one the quality has risen. But what maybe hasn't risen, as I said at the start, is the actual gameplay mechanics. Booting up Telltale's version of Batman recently, I did discover that it still just had a lot of the janky sort of animations that were still present in the very first Walking Dead series. Now, this one criticism isn't the ending of a games company, of course, but I think it's a very small sign that the games just weren't keeping up with what people were really looking for, which was well polished games alongside the well polished writing and the artwork. I also believe the story episodic content they've been doing, while revolutionary at the start and interesting, has quickly been forgotten about and actually undervalued. People want to binge watch stuff now. Netflix, Amazon Prime, you name it, you can watch what you want, how you want to watch it. So the idea of a throwback, waiting 2 months for a game to actually release its next episode, has kind of been left behind. When The Walking Dead initially started, it really was unique and different, and Netflix, believe it or not, wasn't the big king of everything. The idea of binge watching really was still reserved for DVD box sets, but pretty much now every TV service offers you the chance to watch beginning to end your favourite shows. And that's what the Telltale games really are for a lot of people. It's like watching your favourite TV show. Of course it is a game, but more so you're going to be sitting there chilling, relaxing, enjoying the story and occasionally giving input. So they really need to catch up and be more like them TV networks or them online networks that offer you the chance to binge stuff. We saw recently with Hitman going back to a full game experience rather than episodic because gamers just don't want to wait. With so much competition, with so many games out there nowadays, there is a real drain on people's time, so you've really got to give people the content straight away. And so gaming, particularly games like these which rely heavily on narrative, really do maybe need to keep up with that. Whether or not anyone can really sit through a 15-16 hour game like these in one bulk sitting, I'm not too sure, but I'm sure huge fans of this series that have completed all the games would tell you there's not really a problem with it. but there has been some dissenting voices, particularly when updates for these games or the next episodes have been delayed. It hasn't happened that often, but there has been a few occasions where fans of whatever series it was, whether it be Borderlands or something like the Batman series, have had to wait a little bit longer than initially planned. Also, they haven't always been fantastic at releasing information of when you're going to get the next episode. While they certainly haven't taken the piss like other developers have done and not given us any information, with a niche market like this, it's really important to keep them fans engaged. They're going to be loyal, but they still need to keep updated on when their favourite episodes are going to be coming out, when the next chance they're going to find out what happens in the story. So this, alongside some of the progress not being made in the actual gameplay, I really do think these are the two major contributing factors why sales have been down for the Telltale games. I'm not just saying this for the fun of it. If you go and look at some of the Steam charts, you'll find a number of the properties really not just selling well at all. All too frequently, they offer the first episode free, and then you can literally pay for the rest of the season as a way to entice you and get you involved. But equally, that can work against you. If that first episode isn't, grabbing enough, people aren't gonna pony up the rest of the money, or they're gonna wait until it goes on sale. And that's another thing Telltale Games have probably done a little bit too much. It's mad saying this, but as a consumer, you want stuff to be cheap all the time. But Telltale Games have literally been on sale pretty much all the time. You can go along the PSN network, Xbox Live or Steam and find at least one of their series of games on sale, or their collection of games on sale at a very discounted price, which makes it great for people who are on low income or really want to play these games but just can't afford to pay the full price all the time. However, the amount of times they do have it on sale, people aren't going to pony up the full price, knowing Telltale are going to reduce it in the next month. Maybe Telltale's initial idea was that if you sell it low and sell as much of it as you can, it's going to be better than selling a high price point just to them niche fans. But as I said, with that mixture or combination of people wanting to binge watch their favourite shows and maybe binge watch their favourite game, new fans aren't going to necessarily be picking it up as much. Probably doesn't help as well that their biggest money spinner, the Walking Dead series, which by far has been their most popular, has obviously been dwindling in the TV charts as well, and these things do affect each other. While some people will point to the fact that the TV wasn't doing so well, they could at least retreat to the games where the games universe was more on par with what they'd come to expect. I'm sure there's a lot of people there just fatigued with the Walking Dead genre or the Walking Dead brand overall. And despite their many attempts at tackling other IPs and interesting properties, that combination of the gameplay not being advancing enough, not having the games to be able to binge watch and not having a clear plan sometimes of when the episodes come out, it really just isn't enticing people to the series is. So that's just my personal opinion, of course. I can't really sit here and say exactly what's happened. It's a sad day. Telltale Games are well respected for their crafted storytelling, and have definitely gone on to influence and help other games companies really put more story into their games. For me now though, as not a huge uber fan of this series of game styles, it's what's going on with their published games I'm more interested in. They did publish 7 Days to Die, and that's frequently got criticism for not getting enough content and updates. Whether or not that's down to the publisher, I'm not too sure. But future games like Stranded Deep, I'm pretty confident that's going to carry on. As you can see from the statement, it does say majority of the company's employees were dismissed earlier, 25 employees staying on to fulfill the company's obligations to its board and partners. That to me says that they've got plans in place to wrap up Stranded Deep coming out next month, and of course the Walking Dead final season episodes. Let me know, what one of these games have you actually completed? How many of the Telltale game series have you bought? Do you agree or disagree that sometimes the animations and the gameplay just hasn't maybe evolved? Does that matter when the story is so good? Absolutely let me know in the comment section down below. I'm going to keep you up to date of course about what's happening with Stranded Deep and any of the other future developments, whether or not we're going to see the rest of the episodes of the final season. It does look to me like they probably just spent a little bit too much money getting these IPs involved. Didn't really think about starting something up more original for themselves that they could own the profits from, and they were pretty much content on thinking they would just carry on making these type of games and it would get them enough money to get by. The statement does allude to their plans that they were trying to get money out of something in the next year, and I think that's more about the publishing side of stuff. But even publishing really doesn't offer you that much money. You can double the price of a game and put it on the console, which of course the publishers do receive a fair chunk of that for advertising, but still a great majority of that money is going to go to the original developers. So, a sad time for the gaming industry, but not probably as shocking as you would imagine. Let me know in the comment section what you think about everything. I am Jade Plays Games, this has been the Access Show, and I'll see you rat bags for more info very soon.